Hey everybody, it's Kneecap here, and welcome to This Week in WoW for the week of July 4th. Happy Independence Day to all Americans who are celebrating the holiday. And let's go ahead and get started with Mythic Plus. Although we do not have the fixes still, this is always the case until we go all the way through the rotation. We don't know the rotation. We do know it's going to be tyrannical, though. It's a tyrannical week. And we can talk just a little bit about last week's, which were Incorporeal and Sanguine, along with Fortified. So I had a bit of a, tirade a little bit last week about the Afflicted affix having a very miserable time with it the second go around. However, this past week, I actually did not have a bad time with Incorporeal at all. I think this affix is a little bit better, in my opinion. I think there's enough specs that can fully handle it that makes it pretty easy to deal with. Whereas with the Afflicted affix needing to dispel or heal it, the problem I was having personally in my groups, as I said, and I actually saw many people have this problem, is that I was doing the dispel, I was off healing the other one, and then we would still wipe to the healer messing up. I know maybe there's a pretty problem with having decent healers in the game right now, maybe, but I did not actually feel that this week with the Incorporeal. So I don't know if it was something with the Afflicted in the healers' heads, even though the healers that I was playing with were not even, dealing with the affix at all. Maybe it was just in their head or something, or they were worried about it, and so they were healing badly. But this week was a lot better for me. Actually, the Sanguine was much more difficult for my groups than the Incorporeal was. So definitely, I like Incorporeal more than Afflicted as of right now. I think they're both fine because they both support bringing hybrid type classes and classes with utility. I think that's good to have value. And then on weeks where those aren't in the rotation, then the other classes have more value. Pure DPS classes that don't have utility and stuff like that have more value. So I think that's fine. I like the idea of it, but I do think maybe some things. I'm not a healer anymore. I used to be, but I'm not a healer anymore, and maybe healers would know more about what is it about Afflicted that is so troublesome, especially for a healer who's not even really engaging with it that much. Like if you have a DPS that's doing the affix for you, why maybe are the healers still struggling with it? Is it all in their heads? I don't know. But let's move on and talk about what's going on this week. This is the last week before the patch. That's worth pointing out. Next week we will have patch 10.1.5. That'll bring the Mega Dungeon. That'll bring the flying in Kalmador for the dragon riding in the old world, as of now, just for an event, not permanently. But what they're going to do, I assume, is use this data to kind of see how they have to change the world to make dragon riding work. Do they need to add more mountains? Do they need to raise the ceiling, essentially? Because if you probably know you can only fly a certain height. I don't know if maybe not every player has tried that, but you can only fly a certain height before you hit a wall. Do they have to raise the ceiling in some places? How's this going to work if they make it, or when they make it permanent? And so that'll be kind of a thing there. For this week, though, we do have the Dark Moon Fair, so you can go there and get your stuff done. I already went and got my knowledge for the week. If you've been doing this every single time, if you've been keeping up on all your professions, you're probably pretty close, or possibly already done capping out all your knowledge. I'm very interested to see what's going to happen. I'm very close, within a couple points of my mining, and very close to my blacksmithing as well. I'm very curious to see what happens even, and some people watching this may even know and could comment below what happens when you actually fill all your knowledge out. Do you get an achievement? I don't even know. But that could be interesting as well. So Dark Moon Fair, go there, do your profession stuff. Of course, there's other stuff to do too. You can also combine. It's only for a week or whatever. Well, yeah, it's for this whole week. So you can combine the Dark Moon Fair experience and reputation buff with the Sanctuary, the leveling buff that we currently have with the Diablo event or whatever. So that is a way to get some really juicy experience, some really juicy reputation. If you have any reputations to grind. For example, I saw the snail racing thing in the Zeralik Caverns. That reputation grinding with this Dark Moon Fair plus Sanctuary is quite advantageous for you there. The Timewalking event this week is Warlords of Draenor, so you can go there. I actually kind of like Warlords of Draenor dungeons. I always kind of mention that when it's Warlords of Draenor week. I always kind of like that. We also, of course, I mentioned Happy 4th of July or Happy Independence Day, whatever. For Americans, there is a fireworks event in game, so it's kind of like an RP thing, of course. If you want to go do that, I mean, you're obviously can go do that. I don't ever really do it myself. Maybe I honestly I've only ever looked at it a little bit once, so maybe I would like show my kid and see if he thought it was cool or something. So that's something I possibly will do. The Midsummer Fire Festival will be ending this week, so hopefully you're able to get done anything for the achievements there. And obviously with the Midsummer Fire Festival, you could get extra experience from killing mobs as well, from which kind of stacked on top of the Sanctuary stuff and on top of Darkmoon Fairy buff too. So you can get tons of extra experience right now. For at least for that's only for one more day, but the Darkmoon Fair is all week. Other than that, like I said, we have a patch coming up, and I'm super excited for that. I'm super excited for the Mega Dungeon. There hasn't been nearly as much stuff. I'm guessing the stuff is not testable on PTR. I still haven't been on PTR enough personally, but I'm guessing not enough. Like the stuff's not like buyable. Like the trinkets and stuff aren't buyable from a vendor. I have to imagine that somebody's farmed out these trinkets from the Mega Dungeon. There's hardly any info on them yet, so I don't know that we know if these are like really good, if they're kind of good. Obviously, the gear from there is going to be good for like your alts or for casual players and stuff like that who can get in and finish one of these mythic runs on the Mega Dungeon. The gear in there is very nice item level, but we'll see on the strength of the stuff, I guess. I haven't seen much about it as far as like people like testing it out and like predicting how strong it's going to be, whether it's going to be strong, or I haven't even seen anything saying that it's going to be weak. So I haven't really seen much about that at all as far as like these new trinkets go. So that's definitely something I'm looking forward to. Obviously with the patch, we also get the new myth track. So something to worry about this week perhaps is to have gear that's 441 or higher that can be from your vault or from Mythic Raid, right? 441 or higher. So it came out of your vault, not that you upgraded it to 441, but that it came out of your vault at 441, or you got it from the Mythic in the raid, or 444, and then you can upgrade that all the way up to 447 using an aspect crest each time. So an aspect crest from 441 to 444, and then one from 444 to 447. And so that would be 2 aspect crests for each piece of gear like that. And so you can try to make sure that you have enough after this week to upgrade all the gear that's relevant for that. So that's something that you can do power-wise. For Ret Paladins, try to get your second ring made so you're ready to go with rings on Tuesday, on next Tuesday when the patch hits. And yeah, lots of patch stuff in play here. On a personal note, we because the Skarn got nerfed, we almost killed it, and then we actually had to cancel a raid. We had a lot of storms rolling through the Midwest. We had a large portion of our guild actually lose power from these storms. A lot of our guilds in the Midwest and in Canada, and then we have some people down south as well. But a lot of Midwest and Canada in our guild, and yeah, so we had a lot of people without power. We had to cancel a raid night, and now we have July 4th coming up. We don't know how many people are going to miss raid for like July 4th stuff. So a little bit sketchy there, but Zaskarn seems like it's definitely going to go down, especially after the nerf. Magmax shouldn't be too difficult, so hopefully it doesn't put us behind too much. Obviously with this patch on the 11th, that's also going to represent a power gain via upgrading gear to 447 and stuff like that. So hopefully the last 2 bosses won't be too difficult, even though we've had this bit of a hiccup here. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that. Other than that, I did want to say real quick too, that while we have like these little bit of lulls in content, not a lot of news, not a lot of tuning was coming out, nothing was coming out. That is kind of when I will put in more video that's like more of my like passion stuff, like the World of Warcraft, for example. Like I like talking about the World of Warcraft. I like talking about big like macro ideas about World of Warcraft, and by no means feel obligated to watch those, but if you give those a check out, that's always great too. I know a lot of people are here mostly for the rec content and stuff like that, very specific content, maybe guide content, stuff like that. But if you feel like it, you can check out those other videos too that I do, especially when there's not a ton to talk about that's in my normal vein of making videos. So that I will slip those in time to time, when there's really nothing else going on. So that's it for this one, though. Hopefully everyone has a last good week here, has a nice holiday. Good week before the patch, I should say. Has a nice holiday as well. And yeah, as always, I do ask you to please subscribe to the channel because that helps me out so much. And other than that, everybody, have a good one.